are live. Take it away, my love.
Woo! Welcome back, Valiscorpus Guild, to our Sunday Tavern Talks. We have some incredible guests. I am fangirling worse than if I met Channing Tatum. He's not as hot as these lovely ladies I have in front of me. I want to welcome to Valiscorpus the GutPunchRP ladies. We have their wonderful DM and a couple of their amazing players. So I'm going to give them a moment to introduce themselves. We have Dr. Psych Owl. I'll let you take it away.
Hi, I'm Jessica, or Dr. Psych Owl. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a forever DM who sometimes gets to play, but mostly DMs.
You're right there.
And I don't know where they are on the screen, but I make these two people feel things whether they want to or not. That's my tagline.
Perfect.
That's accurate. Yeah.
Kai, I'll let you take the next one. Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
I am Kai. I go by Kyola Cosplay on the things. She, her pronouns. Yeah, I'm just the forever player.
There you go.
Do you want a DM?
I will not be tricked like this.
And I know her mostly as Bodani, but I found out today her name is Amber. Yay, Amber, introduce yourself and tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Amber, but you can find me in all the things as Bodoni Cosplay or Bodoni Italic, and I'm the forever note taker. She, her pronouns.
Perfect. Me too. I got them all right here.
Yay!
We do it the old school way. We got the books, man.
We got the books. I love a good book. We also have our ladies, because it is our Ladies' Day Tavern Talk that we do every 3 weeks. Dylan is here because he wanted to be here, and he kissed his way into it. And I was like, fine, whatever. You're cute. It's fine. So I am Stephanie, or Vari, or Brea, or Afton, depending on which stream you are listening to. She, her pronouns. I am the DM helper and forever player. Sometimes I play NPCs that make you cry, and sometimes I just am on the chat just making sure everybody's having a good time. So Claire, introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Claire, the resident nerd, I think.
One of our longest longevity players. You're going on 20 years now, right, Claire?
This is the 21st year.
Oh, she can drink now, ladies. She can drink.
My original character now is like 60-something, so...
Goodness.
Awesome. And Amanda, introduce yourself to the chat. Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Amanda, also known as Mia, and I'm a forever player, maybe tentative DM for my nieces at least to start. She, her pronouns.
Perfect. And last but certainly not least, Bowen, introduce yourself.
My name's Dylan. Bowen. Anyone who's in here is probably from my channel, but if you're not, I am the first DM of the Valiscorpus Discord channel, where we shoot out one-shots all the time to help people experience the wonderful thing that is roleplay, even if you can't make a campaign, essentially. And yeah, I'm a forever DM with he, him pronouns. I didn't mess it up this time. I messed it up one time. I'm sorry.
Perfect. So the first topic that we're going to discuss is going to be aimed at my Gut Punch ladies, because we've talked a lot about what we've all done to get into D&D, our origin stories, where we started from. So I want to hear, why Dungeons and Dragons over everything else? What brought you to the world of D&D? And yes, love it. Since you're showing off over there, Miss Amber, I'm going to have you start.
No, my origin story is 100% her fault.
Me.
Wonderful. That's super cool. We got a little glimpse into y'all's origin story that you were in full cosplay when y'all met. So you must have been a little bit into the nerd community before D&D. So tell us about your introduction with your forever DM here and what triggered that love for you.
I had been a cosplayer for several years, and another cosplayer invited me to a Halloween party and assured me that there would be other cosplayers there. So this would be like not hardcore Halloween, but it would be a like not just store-bought costume Halloween party. So not realizing we go there, it was a split party. And so half the people were like super hardcore into costume and the other half people were very creative and awesome costumes, but there was a slight difference in how hard people were going.
Right.
And Dr. Psycho was also in a Star-Lord, and I was in Lady Sif, and so it was just eyes across the room like, you're nerd. Yes.
It was the in-person Spider-Man meme.
Yes.
I love it.
You? Yeah, and yeah, we've been friends ever since. And I have a improv and theater background. So I've been a big nerd I've always been into sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, drawing, things like that. And so I've been curious about D&D for a while, and I happened to be in the local comic book store, and the guy working there was talking about his games that he was running, and I was like, I've always wanted to play, and my partner was also kind of curious about it, so he started up a campaign for new players. One of our players left, and then we tried to replace with another person, and then I was like, on a whim, I was like, hey, Amber, you want to play Dungeons and Dragons? And then she started playing, and I have just basically forced her to be in every single D&D thing that I have run ever since then. Amber is the most giving and thoughtful player I've ever had at my table. She's getting really embarrassed because I'm talking about her, and I can already see her retreating. Well
activated.
She's the person that I can put with any group, and she will make sure that all players share the spotlight, even when I'm I do it as much as I can, but she's my co-conspirator, if you will. And then we've been, oh God, when was that? That was 2015. I think I started playing in 2013, 2014, somewhere in that ballpark. Maybe it was I don't know. It's been a while. And yeah, and then the stream happened, which was me in a chat with Amber. One day I kind of ran into a chat, and I was like, okay, hear me out. It's D&D, but it's fairy tales, and it's kind of horror.
Ooh.
And it's kind of traditional D&D, traditional D&D lore meets gothic horror meets fairy tales. And
you're speaking my language right now. I want to be there.
And then that was it. And so then I was like, okay, well, what if we got cosplayers to play it, because then we could also dress up on the stream if we wanted to or whatever. And then what you don't know about Amber is that she is an IRL spy with a spy network of cosplayers. This is the woman who can get 30 different cosplayers to do a gender bend of all the MCU and actually arrive on time in one location.
Oh, so she's like the CIA of cosplay.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah.
Everyone knows Amber because she is the most positive person who is just here for everything.
I love it.
And now I feel like I've been
bright red
talking
now.
for a lot. So.
No, it's perfect. That is the coolest thing. D&D, I swear, is almost the end for some people, right? Everybody has their nerd jumping off point, whether it's, I had my nose stuck in a book my entire life. I was that girl that read like 900 books in a school year because that's all I did, you know, and then dove into video games and everything like that, and then found D&D, and now we're here with the whole community, and it's the best thing ever, and we dress up on stream, and we do silly voices, and we become different things, and it's awesome. Now, Kai, I'm seeing some really cool pictures behind you right now. I really want to know, what got you into D&D and why?
I mean, like, I had a lot of theater friends in high school, and they definitely tried to get me to play one game. And I was like, why is this so much reading and math? I don't like it. And then I, like, didn't play for a very long time. And then, you know, quarantine started, and I started one game. And then, like, literally the next week, Amber was like, hey, you want to come play D&D with me? I was like, yeah, sure, totally. I don't know what I'm doing. And then it turned into a whole stream.
And now we're here.
And now
we're here, yeah.
That's so funny, because watching you, I would never suspect, Kai, that you are so new. I just wouldn't. I love... That's the biggest thing that we do here, is like getting into character and being a part of the story, and that seems so natural for you. I had no idea that you like were starting so
Thank you.
so recently, but like that's a lot of the stories we're hearing now. It's like COVID and quarantine gave a lot of people the push to get into it, which, you know, I found, despite everything COVID did, we have a lot to thank for COVID. I feel like there's been a lot of good that has happened in terms of the bad, and I like to stay on the positive side. So silver lining to everything. So welcome to the D&D community. I'm glad you're loving it here. We've talked a lot about our origin stories that the chat has known too. So we'll go through and just talk a little bit. So we're not taking up too much time, but I started in college with a group of friends. The first group of friends I actually had, because I was that nerd that didn't have a lot of friends. And for about a year and a half, we would meet every Thursday in the middle of the woods around a campfire in cosplay, and we would play D&D, and it was the most fun thing in the world. It was freezing cold half the time, but I didn't care.
I'm still jealous because it sounds awesome.
That sounds
I
really
know,
fun.
It sounds really cool, but it was still 3.5. It wasn't even 5e, so it was much different than 5e was today. There were so many pages and so many spells and all sorts of stuff, but it was so much fun, and I loved it. And it wasn't even until I met Dylan that I discovered the online presence of D&D. This past, you know, quarantine was, even before that, was when he introduced me to the online version. I didn't know what Roll20 was. I didn't know any of that. I was just used to face-to-face, books in front of me, tons of papers, in-person, D&D. And the online world is just blowing it out of proportion, which I will still forever and always miss rolling my own dice. And having my inspiration tokens on me. Yes, there goes the wonderful DM dice bag. And now we're here building a community within a community, and I love it, and it's amazing. So Claire, tell us about your entrance to D&D over 21 years ago.
It was December 2000.
Woo!
And that's all I wanted for my birthday and Christmas.
At the turn of the millennium.
Yeah, Y2K had just passed 12 months ago. Yeah, no, I started 12, oh my god. Yeah, it was 12 years ago.
Yeah, 12 years,
it
that's
really
okay.
was
Yeah.
just 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was 3 years ago, guys. No, yeah, I started then. I had one campaign that ran. I started that campaign in 2004 with my friends when I was in second grade, and then we played that all the way through high school. That one game. And then come college, we kind of broke off, but we still kept playing and new games and one shots and all that.
That's awesome, though.
And now I'm here.
Kind of like an
Now
OG
you're
player.
I know, it's the coolest
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
the coolest thing that you've been around for so long.
I have a bin of 3.5 stuff somewhere. I don't know where it's gone because there was some stuff I wanted for the all-girls campaign, and I don't know where it is.
It's all right. The internet's here for you.
Yeah, I know. My folder grows every day.
Yeah. Nanda, tell us about your D&D origins.
So my D&D origins, I intended to play years and years and years ago because I really liked the shiny math rocks.
Yes.
And I wanted to buy them. And so I had signed up to like join a campaign and I never got called about it. And I know it's really sad. And finally, like my friends were starting and I was like, I would love to play, like if you guys are going to get something going. They did. We played once during quarantine and that was literally it. Like we still have intentions of playing again. But that was like my first time playing and it was online. And then Ace invited me to his group and then he invited me to this one to join a one shot and I've been playing every week ever since. So
Without fail.
Yeah, Amanda's she's here and she loves it and she's like our biggest supporter and also the biggest love of my life outside of Dylan, and you know I love you so much. So Dylan, quick recap of your origin stories before we move on to the biggest topic.
Yeah, and I'm excited for the next topic too. So don't mind me. I just was like most kids. That nerd kids, you had like a nerd parent. You know, it's usually where it comes from. You know, some sort of like inception. So my dad was big into Warhammer 40K. My dad was big into Magic the Gathering and stuff. And, you know, when you're already in Magic the Gathering and other tabletop games, D&D's on the way. You just don't know when. And like I've been doing it since I was like 13, 14 years old, and I'm like 27 now. So it's been a long time. I have an enormous amount of experience in my belt at this point, and it's funny that you mentioned the online presence. I have been doing internet DMing for several years now, and like, yeah, this COVID phenomenon has brought to bear like what feels like millions of players. I mean, holy cow, because like let's say for the past 4 months since I've made this channel, I keep bringing in new people all the time, and I probably ran through like 50 people, 100 even.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
We've had a lot of people come through.
I run through a lot of people who get to jump into these one-shots all the time, and everyone says the same thing. They're all like, I just started, about a year ago, 2 years ago, or I just started because quarantine, this, that, and the third. It's the same story back to back to back to back. So I saw a need to fill a need, if you all saw that movie. I was kind of like, yeah, and people get so just bombastic about like my one shots. They're like, oh my god, it's the best thing I've ever done. And I'm like, really? Because this is not even my best work. Like, not even close. Like, these one shots are like, it's not campaign level stuff. And I started to realize that, yeah, a lot of people are very new. I'm used to being the guy who's like, if you're getting with the D&D person, they've probably been doing it for 10 years plus like you have been. No, that's not the case anymore. Now it's like everyone's just popping onto 5e, and they can barely even keep up because D&D and Beyond is so complicated, Roll20 is so complicated, and so much going on that people forget that it's a role-playing game and not a board game, and they want to know what that spice is. How do you get it? Yeah. So I do everything I can to help release that into the world. And that's kind of where I'm at now, I guess. I know that was a whole beginning to end story, but the end is much more interesting than the beginning, because it's like, yeah, I was a kid and I played D&D.
Yeah, we get it. You're cool. Well, that brings us to kind of our first topic to really discuss. So, as our Valis Corpus members know, this week we've been doing an improv competition to help players get more into the feel of roleplay, get more into character, and our biggest goal is to get players off the character sheet and into character. Because that's what's fun for us, and it's different for everybody. Some people love the combat, some people love all the spells and the min-maxing, and quite frankly, I took remedial math in college. I'm not good at it. It's not my thing. And everybody has their niche, and we want to create a creative space for people that want to learn more and want to get into that character a little bit extra. And a lot of our Tavern Talks, we've talked about DM prep and what the DMs have to go through, and how difficult it actually is. Because I think a lot of players kind of don't realize, if you've never DM'd before, you don't understand the hours and hours outside of game and prepping, and now online with tokens. It's not just miniatures anymore, it's tokens and files, and he's got a 4 terabyte external, drive because he doesn't have space on his computer. So Jess, I'm sure you can understand the amount of prep that goes into DMing is so much. And we've also talked mildly about player prep. Is it important? Is it respectful enough to your DM that you have yourself prepped enough that you know your spells and you know your character sheet? But something I want to talk about that I think a lot of people may not even think about, and they might do subconsciously, is should roleplay be prepped or practiced? I am the backstory queen of the world, apparently. I have way too long of backstories. I've given a page minimum, and I go beyond it, and I don't care. You leave me alone! Leave me alone! All right, Yeti, we get it. 5 pages, it's fine. When I'm building a character...
Too bad Dusty's not here.
When I'm building a character, I don't even think about what spells she's going to have. I don't think about what my roles are going to be. My whole process is, what is my character about? Why is she here? What are her greatest weaknesses? What's her voice going to be like? How's she going to interact with people? And so I'll sit here and annoy the dickens out of our guild members and my DM, who's DMing at the time, saying, like, what do you think about this and this? And poor Dylan's got to listen to me trying to figure out what voice to give a character. I'm not good at voices. So I want to know, do you think the backstory, the character, the role play should be practiced, should be prepped? What do you do? This is a very wide topic.
Yeah.
And I know Dylan had a big say in this because one of his characters that he's doing for our Monday campaign, he's finally a player, you guys. It's happening. The Forever DM is a player. But you guys couldn't even see how difficult being a player was for him as a Forever DM. So I'll let him kind of talk about that while you guys maybe think about.
Yeah. Maybe I can paint a picture, to try and narrow down the scope of what we're doing. So, God, I mean, yeah, I've been DMing so long that I don't know how to play one character. I know how to play 50, but you take me down to one, it's like my God, it's like the Princess Bride, But anyway, so what happened was, how every good story starts, what happened was, I basically was making a character, and I had absolutely friggin' nothing. I couldn't do anything. I was so flummoxed. I haven't had such writer block in my life before. And I started to learn all these unique tricks to try and, get your brain into the mindset of doing something you're not familiar with. You could call it psychology, if you will. It's not like I'm a scientist, but...
Scientist, physics.
I started to realize...
She can help.
Right? I should hit up her next. So my thought process was I'm doing something I am completely out of my element in. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm completely lost. So I had to come down with some super basic stuff. I brought out the notebook, and I was like, okay, what the heck am I doing? And this is where I started to realize character prep or player prep, not DM prep, but player prep could be really big, because I was like, I want my character to be really wise. I want him to know, I want him to be that guy, that token character in the movie you see who always has the right thing to say. The wise old grandfather, the super cool uncle. I want that guy. I have no idea how to be that guy, because I'm not that guy. So what I did was I sat down, I wrote down his name, and I gave him a super simple backstory, and I started to look up, wise sayings. I started to look up all kinds of stuff. I have the document. It's the greatest oak was the nut that stood its ground the day before, or something like that, or whatever. It's really cryptic, whatever junk. So I started prepping lines. I'm like, I'm gonna keep these on my back burner, so I can just throw one of these suckers out there. I'm ready. I'm winding up to sound really cool, So I took down a bunch of one-liners that sounded really wise and inspirational quotes, and I took down stuff, and then the character started to manifest itself more and more as I kept thinking about it. I kept prepping. I was like, you know what? I haven't really done an Irish accent. That's really hard to do for me in a casual tone, because usually you have to be like, oh, potatoes. You know, I have to take it up a notch to like to go Irish. So I started listening to Irish comedians like Dylan Moran and a couple other guys.
Have any potatoes?
You know? And I started to realize that I could actually do it. I could really get into an Irish accent, you know, because I started to listen. I started to prep again. And then, yeah, this character got bigger and bigger and bigger because, like, I took the time as a player to do something I wasn't comfortable with, and I attacked it from different ways. So that's kind of like my player prep stories. That's why we're like, what do you guys think? Should players prep? Could it be really beneficial? You know?
I kind of want to hear from Jess first, because I love DM perspective on player expectation. Sounds like a really harsh word, because everybody role plays differently. There is no wrong way to role play. That's the whole beauty of D&D, right? You can kind of do, what are you laughing about?
Sorry, the chat got me. I'm sorry.
Yes.
The potatoes got me.
Irish Santa. All right, never.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You boil them, you mash them, you put them
Put
in
them
a
in a
stew.
stew. I have a signed
I-
copy of The Hobbit, you guys. I'm cool. Anyway,
Yeah,
I want to
so-
hear your thoughts, because DM perspective on player expectations is always really interesting to me.
So, one of my favorite things is I tend to go to bed 9, 10, 11, that ballpark. My players, except for like Nat, are awake until like 2, 3, 4, 5, and our little gremlins who are in Discord and are just like, we're chatting, we're going back and forth. So like Amber and Dusty, who play the siblings and have like very, you know, connected backstory, they'll just be like going back and forth, and I'll wake up to 68 Discord messages. And I love this. Like, I love that. I think there's a fine line between like, so there you've got two kind of threads that are confounded there. So there's prep, which is knowing your character, knowing what your character would do in certain situations, and maybe even have like, these are the things that I would like to accomplish in the next session or the next like handful of sessions. And that's wonderful for me as a DM. Going through and like practicing improv is really good. Practicing what you may say in the session, you can rehearse it in your head, but like that, no, I think that's a little bit more like, it's better to have, like, it's good to practice the skill of improv, and acting skills, but not like practicing the actual,
Right. Like being a reactive player.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's something we've strived on a lot too, is we talk a lot about reactive DMing, because as us players know, we love to throw you off your trail. We love to do everything in the world to not follow the story, because I want to go talk to this guy because I think he's cute. And it's just a random NPC that doesn't matter, and you haven't prepped for it all, and now we have to make him part of the story. And you killed him, so you're really nice, Dylan. It's fine. Killed my best friend.
You'll never let it go.
I will never let that go.
I'm sorry.
You killed Lug the ogre. He killed Lug the ogre, you guys. It's not nice.
Are we talking about like emotional pain? Because one of my favorite moments from our campaign was I think it was about Bjorn's cat, where everybody was like, don't kill the cat. And I'm like, I'm not going to kill the cat. You haven't named it yet. I won't kill it until you've named it.
He finally named that cat, just because we're like, it's safe until we name it.
Oh my god.
I mean, was it safe though?
Was it safe?
Was it?
But I definitely agree that practicing reactivity is really important, and I think everyone can benefit from. So that's why we did the improv off, because just improv, it's not only is it fun and silly, and gosh, there were some great frickin' moments. I loved the Only Horns. We made a tiefling Only Horns.
Oh god.
It was great. It was fabulous.
Only
It was so good.
For frisky.
So I think
tieflings.
for frisky tieflings.
Anyway.
So I think you make a great point that not necessarily having something set in stone, but reactivity is really, really important. So I guess to turn it into a better question, is that something that you guys as players, Bodani and Kai, is that something you kind of think about?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, you come with the backstory and all of that. I mean, like, for me, getting ready for this game was like realizing that I guess like some people are gonna watch. Apparently, I was literally like, oh shit, I need to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons, and so I was like obsessively at the start of this watching like every video on YouTube about how to do that, and like. I am probably the least theatery of us in the group. Well, you were around theater kids. You're. So like improv and like quick thinking is not my forte. So I'm just like, yes, and then like walk away. So like I would like to get better at like prepping that, but like yeah, you come with your story and like you know what you want your character to be like and. Hopefully.
So it sounds like you might benefit from some improv fun training. Which makes everybody really uncomfortable until they do it.
Oh god.
I would. I was actually like, maybe I should take an improv class, and I'm like, I don't wanna.
Or do an improv competition.
Yeah,
I
the
used to
competition
compete.
is awesome.
You have the DM that's perfect for it.
Yeah, like I used to compete back in the day in like high school and college. Yeah.
Yet a new contestant takes the stand.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny too, because when we did the improv competition, I have found we have some amazing role players. I mean, Jay is one of those people, you hear him and you don't realize that the voice he's doing in character is not his real voice. It sounds so natural and it comes out of him, and then you hear him talk and you're like, wait, now I'm confused. What do you sound like? Because it all seems like it's all real. And then we did the improv off, and everybody had expectations for certain people that they were going to blow it out of the park. And then within 2 hours, and I'm calling her out right now, within 2 hours, our little princess down here, Amanda, beat everybody. Everybody.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's not necessarily that we didn't have the same expectations, but her improvement with 2 hours of just playing a game.
An improv game, yeah.
Ooh,
Oh,
her vampire matron had me slightly turned on and slightly scared at the same time. And it was incredible.
How tall was your vampire?
I don't think I actually set a height.
She definitely could have been 9 feet tall. She definitely could have been 9 feet tall.
But I definitely did picture Lady Dimitrescu like in my head. Like, okay.
So even just playing a game, not only was it so much fun, but like, oh, Amanda, you were a monster, and it was fabulous. It was fabulous. Now, Bodani, coming from a cosplay background, not necessarily maybe theater, but cosplay is still in its own way. Pretend, right? It's make-believe.
Yeah.
When you get in that cosplay, you can't help but be like, now I'm whoever I am, and I've got this persona. So did that help you in terms of like building your own characters, getting into character?
Probably because since I tend to cosplay like Amazons and really big, strong women. For Scotty, yes.
Yes.
But I am not an actor. I am not an improv person. I am actually, funny enough that you mentioned it, I am the character sheet person. I am the person who very much so, like, I like my rules, I like my numbers, I am reactionary when I talk, period, let alone when I improv or role play. So I am not the player or the character to go up and initiate a dialogue. I will wait for people to either come to me and then panic and then try to solve and run away. But my strong point has always just been like, okay, you've been quiet for a while. Let's go do a shenanigan and let's go do that. And then fade to black. Yeah. So there's so much prep work where I know I have to do something or I know I have to do something that it's me going through the notes of okay, this is what I know I want to accomplish. This is what I know I want to find out. This is what I know I don't know, so don't touch this. There's just so much of me going through those beats of good luck, try not to die.
Right, but like I think that's the best part about it is like there's no right or wrong way to do this. You know, there's no right or wrong way to roleplay. There's no right or wrong way to prep. And I love the fact that you know you're that rule person, and I think every group needs that person that's going to highlight other players. And something that the improv off kind of showed us was like, you don't need to be the initiator to be important.
Oh, thank God.
You don't need to. 'Cause one of the whole reasons why when we did Amanda versus Dylan, Amanda versus the DM, one of the whole reasons that we kind of voted on her to win, even though, you know, it's just for fun, there's no real winner, was that Dylan initiated all of it. But Amanda took everything he gave her and threw it back at him and never let anything fall. Her reactivity and her ability to roll with things is incredible. You don't have to initiate. You don't have to be that person that's like, I'm gonna go talk to the guard and I'm gonna get what I want, because that's what my players do, and then I almost get us arrested.
Which I need to cut in and point out.
Okay, point it.
That you're making an amazing point, and it's even I can reinforce the point because Amanda always had this in her, right? It wasn't until she fought through like 2 different improv competitions and got to me, who's like, I guess the top person in a way.
We had to cut him down a peg.
That it wasn't.
Take his knees out.
It wasn't until she got to that point, right, that like all of this came out. It was always there. Amanda always had it in her brain, but like we've been playing one-shots with her for a long time, and she did a couple competitions, and like she always kind of like kept it in, right? It wouldn't come out. It would just come out in like bits and pieces, and it wasn't quite there. But then like this improv game that we've been playing has brought a whole new side to her. It's just all just like boom, and she surprised me. Like I acquiesced. I was like, seriously, like we all knew I was going to be comfortable with it, but holy crap, she just I couldn't say a thing to flummox her. Like she was just coming right back at me. It's not really an argument. It's just like a nice flow of a story, and she just kept it rolling. So I think it's amazing to point out that like she always had it in her, right? So even players like Badani, you know, you probably do. You probably don't even know it. You know, if you're willing to play a fun game, you might find out.
As the person who has seen Amber at the very beginning to Amber right now, oh hell yeah. Like the Amber's improvement and skill just across these number of years, it's so good, and it's so rewarding to have been able to watch that development. I would also say that just from the beginning, from where we started the stream, you know, not quite a year come October, like watching Kai go from like, oh God, what have I gotten myself into, to like making some character decisions that are super dope and interesting. And and I have succeeded in my role here, which I have made both Amber and Kai retreat, which is how I measure whether or not I've done a good job, is have I made them retreat. Because in game, all I have to do is say their name, and then they start like, what? No, not me.
But
not
so
me.
that's the thing, is like you're building confidence, right?
Yeah,
Like you're building your own confidence within your abilities. And I mean, that's a normal thing, right? You start a new D&D group. With people you don't know, you're starting a campaign. The first couple sessions are gonna be a little awkward. You don't know each other. You don't know your characters. And then session 4 and session 5, now you know each other. Now you know your characters. Now you're a little bit more free. And now you're gonna be like, I already know he's gonna do this, so I'm gonna stop him. Or like, I know way too much about Dylan's character. He has a character named Kanan Honorius, and he is your wonderful knight, pray tell thee, fair maiden kind of guy. And
be thy thou.
I adore this character so much, and I knew so much about it that we did one shot together. And my favorite part of it was he has this like entrance line every time he introduces himself to people.
You mess it up every time.
I do mess it up every time, but I don't care. And as he's doing this, I am silently behind him in my character, mimicking him. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "It's fine. Like, even the silent interactions, the fun, silly inside jokes, it's all for us, right? Like, a lot of the audience isn't going to know it, but it's all for us, and it's so much fun. And that's why the role play aspect is just so much fun for me, because you're making these bonds. And like I said, Kai, stop. No self-degradation. You are amazing. Your characters always make me laugh. And the important thing is, like, you may not say a lot all the time, but when you say something, it's impactful. And I love that. It matters, and it's important, and it's remembered. And, you know, Claire being another pretty suitable DM here, and you're about to show off your skills for us tonight, which I'm super excited about. You have admitted that backstory and role-playing isn't your strong suit. You are the numbers gal. You know all the source books. So how has it been for you with us getting more into the role-play?
I've always liked the roleplay part. I've noticed that I've gotten better over 20 years.
Absolutely.
But yeah, my backstory is literally a list of quirks for roleplay. Like, one of my characters literally talks like Kermit the Frog, sometimes mixed with a little bit of Yoda.
I love it.
It's like, I pulled that voice out. I was like, all right, you're playing Kermit the Frog. I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw Yoda into this too, so I can confuse the shit out of everybody.
Absolutely. Well, and I've also noticed you are a very reactive player, which is so important.
Oh, yeah.
Because when we were doing our one shot where I was messing around with Raxus, the first thing this little mouthkin did was start copying me and annoying him with me, and it was the best part of it. I kept putting out every cigar he lit. And then in you come
All right,
with
fine, I'm
another
going to put it out too.
And it's so much fun. You need both sides. And I think that everybody needs to realize your roleplay style is all important. And it doesn't matter what style you have. So I don't want players to ever be like, well, I'm just not as strong suited as this person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still important and we still need you. Because
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Because I don't want to hear from just one person for 4 hours. I want to hear from everybody.
There's also some fun things that you can do as a GM to help with that. So we've kind of joked about it, but my background is, like, I'm a social psychologist, and so and I used to research interviewing best practices. And so if you, like, asking your players questions and asking them in an open-ended fashion is really great, but you can also do it in a way where you start it with the words tell, explain, describe, and you're priming them to give you a narrative. So, okay, you just landed your first, Scotty, you just landed your first critical strike. Tell me what it looks like when, you know, Kai, tell me what your magic looks like. Explain to me the what happens as you do this. Like, you, by doing it in that fashion, you're going to prime somebody to give you a narrative. And even if they aren't comfortable with role playing, like, narratives and storytelling is the gateway drug to getting into your character.
Absolutely.
We're so kindred spirits. I'd honestly kill to have, like, a one-on-one conversation with you.
I knew you'd love them.
I'm dying right now because, like, I'm just such a psychology enthusiast, you know, and I constantly research it, constantly learn about it, and I'm constantly, whether my players know it or not, you're all my guinea pigs, you know, as far as to how to approach people on a subconscious level, you know, and how to transform their expectations with key phrases, key words, timing, story, plot, and lines and twists. Like, everything's about timing and how you say it and when you say it and all these little mental nuances, you know, that I incorporate into things. I'm like, God, I'd kill to have a conversation with Dr. I feel like we're on the same level so hard right now that it's crazy, but I'm sorry, I'm gushing.
What's going to be fun is down the road, when it eventually comes out, because I know how memory works and I know how to influence memory. There's something that's going to get revealed that's going to be super fun.
Ooh! Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. All right, moving a little bit away, we have one last topic and we have about 15 minutes. And this is a big one that I think we could talk so much about. We've got quite a few, obviously, DMs in here. And we have, in the Valascorpus Guild, we do things a little differently rules-wise. We do no initiative combat. We don't have saving throws. So once you hit 0, if you don't have a destiny point, you're dead. Yeah, it's a little harsh, but it's really brought out the importance of combat and the seriousness of combat. So when we do combats, it's pretty important and they're pretty big. There's no like, this is a tiny horde of goblins, you're just killing them to get through this cave. So we want to talk about homebrew rules. And I'll kind of let the DMs kind of shout out what their homebrew rules are first, and then kind of talk about what you prefer and why you do it. So I'm going to start off with Jess, because I've watched a lot of your stuff, but I don't think a lot of, he's like sitting here ready.
I want to hear it.
So what are some homebrew rules that you implement, and why do you use them, and why do you prefer them?
Okay, I think first and foremost, the biggest one is critical hits. I think it's so not satisfying when it's rules as written, because if you roll a 1 on your damage dice, it's only a 2. So I do max damage plus whatever you roll. So no matter what, your critical hit is going to feel satisfying.
Yeah.
It also applies to the enemies. So when enemies crit, they hit. So it feels satisfying for the players, but it also is like that increases the deadliness and the danger of the, if you're fighting something and then it crits,
Oof.
This guy's gotten one-shotted so many times.
And then in terms of like other kind of that's the biggest homebrew rule that I can think of. The other things are, I may be a little lax on different spells and different things, what they can do. I really regret everything that I've let this crew get away with Misty Step. But
I get away with so much with Misty Step.
It's like I let them get away with so much with Misty Step, but also like rule of cool always wins.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You always do make them sacrifice something in order to get away with it. Like, yeah, you can do that, but you can't do anything else on your turn, kind of.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'll do my best kind of ad hoc to balance whatever the thing is. But yeah, I don't know that I have a ton.
I have the homebrew sheets up. You have health potions.
I love you.
This is so okay. So full disclosure, like DMing is a cognitively tasking activity. You add on to that running the stream. I barely take notes myself. And because Amber is the most amazing person ever and she takes notes, she goes back and watches the stream and takes notes about what happened and keeps track of homebrew rules. So go ahead.
We don't have that many. We kind of like let them go on the fly, but health potions are a bonus action, but they also cause opportunity attacks because you're making yourself vulnerable.
Interesting.
We have so many homebrew rules on curses. Curses are a really big thing in the campaign. They can't not be just taken off with a greater restoration. Revival, I have Matt Mercer rules of revival, which I don't actually know. I just kind of always trust you when they happen. I know they get increasingly difficult, and there's something special about them, which I don't think you've revealed to us, so I won't.
Well, you haven't had to revivify anybody yet, so...
we haven't. A couple of characters have been, and there were roles involved, but I wasn't sure what was going on when that was happening.
If you're talking about the thing with the tower,
yeah,
like there were no rolls.
Oh, okay.
That just
I
happened.
was emotionally distressed for no reason.
Yes.
Okay.
She did that on purpose.
Yeah,
Kyla and Bjorn were wearing plot armor at that point in time.
We love a good plot armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Protecting a
actually-
shield.
We have the drinking beverages. There's Constitution saves that get
That's
increasingly
true.
difficult.
So you can do you can take a drink and at that point you have to start making Constitution saving throws, otherwise you're gonna get sick.
So here's a question on that, just for you. How long does it last? Like, if you have 3 drinks and then you go off into battle within the next 5 minutes, are you still under the influence?
Hang on.
He's got a book for this.
So Taverns and Tankards, it's an indie publication that I got at a con. It's from Mage Hand Press.
Nice.
But it's basically, let me see if I can real quick find the thing. It's that after your first fail, you have. Yeah, I do voices too. I want to say it's like you have a disadvantage on skill checks, or not all skill checks. But there's like a little table in it that, like, with each fail, like, you can keep drinking, but with each fail it has consequences, and if you get to the end of the table, you're gonna wake up the next morning with some consequences.
Oh yeah, we know Scotty likes to drink and hang out with his Vikings. So.
Oh yeah.
So before we move on to the next DM, I want to hear from the players. How do you feel about the homebrew rules? I know that some players love our homebrew rules and some players don't like them. Do the homebrew rules give you more quality of life? Does it make things more impactful? Do you like her homebrew rules?
I like them. I also I like the style of playing the game a little looser just overall.
Yeah.
Because while I like that there are so many rules and there are so many facets to everything, at the same time, sometimes you're just trying to rule of cool your way through something, and the DM's like, that's not how that works, and you're like, but it would have been so cool.
Yeah.
So I like the little bit looser style. I like homebrew rules. I like it all.
Absolutely. They're 5e, they are guidelines, they are not
rules.
And that's what I think is most important.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bodani? How do you feel about her homebrew rules?
I trust Jess because I know Jess will. We've added a couple of these and we've taken some off and we changed them depending on how we're doing it in the game. And she's doing it completely so the game is fun, it's fair, we're not getting slaughtered. I know that the health potions were one we kind of threw out at the beginning, and we kind of tweaked it as we were getting our butts just handed to ourselves at the very beginning and didn't have a healer or any really buff mechanics or anything of that sort to kind of lessen the damage we were getting, because Scotty got one-shot quite a few times. And I am such the rules person. I have so few things since I play fighter. I kind of know what I can do inside and back. And so it ultimately, at the end of the day, we have Jess gets the final call. And if it comes to a point on stream, as opposed to slow down the stream to look up a rule or fight something, it's always Jess, make the call. We trust you. We'll move on. And if we need to look it up later, we'll look it up later.
Absolutely. I think that flexibility is really important for both sides as players and DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually really like that homebrew rule. It's really cool. We've switched around a lot of ours, and we're tweaking it constantly because we're trying all new types of mechanics to make the game more fun.
Yeah, I was watching. I think I got that one from Critical Role because they do health potions as a bonus action. I was just I was sitting there going, okay, but if Bo takes a health potion while she's in melee combat, so as a bonus action, she's just hang on, I know we're fighting, but let me chug this real quick. It doesn't feel right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, because it's, there's still that chance that the opponent's gonna miss, or it's oh wait, whoa, block, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's really
I was just
cool.
so if you're in melee range and you take take your health potion as a bonus action, opportunity attack can happen.
That's really cool. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that we veer towards, despite it being fantasy, we still try to keep it somewhat realistic.
Right.
Especially when it comes to combat. So I will let Dylan explain. We have quite a few homebrew rules.
Yeah.
I'll let him kind of take over, and then I definitely want to hear from Amanda and Claire about how they feel about
As our
homebrew
players.
rules, because it can be a little harsh.
So, I know the potion thing is like wildly crazy, right? Because like literally the act of drinking something is very like, obviously you're not doing anything else, right? I couldn't even imagine being in a fist fight whilst going like this, like hold up bro, hey, time out, you know. So even then the bonus action thing is a stretch, but it's cool. So it's like, it's a nice bit of both, right? It's like we're still going rule of cool over logic because it still doesn't make sense. But this is the nice middle ground we found, and that's the sweet spot, I think, all the time for all your rules, if you can do it. So our homebrew rules, the first of all is the no death saves. That's easily my favorite rule. The no initiative combat is a whole different thing, but like having no death saving throws. So if you hit 0, you go unconscious. If you get anything below 0, you're dead. That's it. I mean, of course, there's Revivify and so on and so forth, but if you're below 0, you're dead. And what I've seen this do to people on an emotional scale is incredible. And I originally got the idea, I wish I could remember the guy's name. He's this Australian dude, big beard, Bard is somewhere in his username. But essentially, he gave this like really brief and like heart-wrenching description of how players always have that moment when someone's like dying. They're like, no, and they start whipping out their super Batman belts. I have Revivify, I have Cure this, Cure that, you know, magic up the wazoo, you know, and it cheapens death, is how he described it. He's like, when it's time, and characters need to go. And, like, the terror and the finality of, like, essentially their mortal lives is so personified with not having death saving throws, you know, you're always on the cusp. When, like, just like how your crits... I'm pretty sure everyone just freezes when a crit happens from an enemy. We're like, oh, it's about to happen. Like, oh no,
hurt.
You know, because that's coincidentally the only time my players die is from critical hits, believe it or not. Otherwise, it's a neck-to-neck tactical battle. But when a crit hits, it's like, bam, it's out of left field. That guy just dropped, and we're all like, and you can't get that with death saving throws, right? If he dropped, he's got 3 saves. We've got another 4 or 5 rounds. No, like everyone stops, you know. And I also added a homebrew rule that if someone dies sometime after combat or however it happened, they always have last words. I always tell my players, what are your last words, you know? And it's every single time.
He likes to emotionally scar you, is what he's saying. He likes to hurt people.
I really don't want Jess and him to have a conversation.
Let's separate you two. Separate.
The last words have created some of the most memorable roleplay moments in all of my one-shots. Is the last words, you know? They're just like, oh. Anyway, so I kept the no death saving throws homebrew rule because of the sheer level of impact it has had and the level of terror during combat. Combat is something to be avoided. It's a life or death situation. It's not something you should just seek out and be like, yeah, I'm gonna take on that dragon, her dirt, you know? Like, you gotta take it seriously, right? And I'm not gonna walk up to you as your DM, as a man, and just go like, you need to take this seriously. No, I'm gonna find ways to like make you feel it without you noticing, you know? Hence the whole psychology of it, you know? And the last words, anyway. So, the other rules we have are no initiative. There is no initiative in combat. There's no rolling for initiative, nothing, right? I'll try and nutshell it, basically, is all of the players all get to just declare actions and do them and chuck dice, right? And all of my monsters do all of their stuff after the players in response. And everything is happening simultaneously. Ranged attacks take the initiative. Melee attacks are all in their own initiative. It's like a 2-step phase, but like, I do more work than the players is what makes it cool. So the reason we love no initiative combat is because there's no turn order. There's no waiting to decide what you're going to do. Immediately, from the rip, each individual player acts. And as the DM, I got all the skills to just take all 20 of these monsters and just wipe through all of their rolls, all their decisions, move them. Like, I can do it fast, right? So it what's the word? it speeds up the process. You know, it keeps the players engaged. There's no downtime. We've had enormous results. We've gone through one-shots, which are 4 hours long, and we've done 4 to 5 combats in just that one shot. And we
But it also brings out the chaos of battle.
The chaos of battle, because all attacks are simultaneous, right? So even if you kill your opponent in melee, he's still going to hit you back. You both could potentially like get impaled on each other's swords, because that would happen in real life. You know, just because you took his head off doesn't mean he didn't stab you in the gut. You're just the one that happens to be alive for now. You know, that kind of stuff. So the simultaneous combat has made some really epic level stuff. You know, because I can't describe it. The terror is always right here, and players are freaking out about it. But from a DM's perspective, I've ran this for months now, and it works. It's always neck to neck. You're never actually at a disadvantage. It's always right there. And then like 5-6 sessions down the road, one crit just puts the nail in your coffin. Your character is done, and you never saw it coming, and it's time. And that's the perfect death moment. So no initiative and no death saving throws are our biggest rules, and I love them.
Yeah, we have a couple of other little small ones, and we're constantly tweaking. Skill checks. Dylan hates insight checks. He wants to get rid of insight checks altogether. He can't stand them. But there's
I mean, these guys don't ever do them, so...
I can't pass it. I always fail. I picked the worst character for my playstyle.
You could still do it. Like, nothing's stopping you from trying.
So there's a lot of little things that we do. And I think it's made some really interesting dynamics. But I want to hear from our players, because both Claire and both Amanda have been around for a while, and been around for us tweaking, because we've tweaked the no initiative stuff to kind of make it a little better. We've tried a couple systems. No, Yeti, you cannot get an insight check on that. And speaking of no bringing characters back to life, we have bugged Dylan enough to try to let us go back into the Underdark and bring back Yeti. We want him back so bad. We have begged long enough, and it's going to happen. I literally ran into the room. I was in an opposite room when he died, and I ran in on live stream, and I was like, no! You are not going to kill Yeti!
That door right there, she was watching.
I was so upset. But how do you as players feel about our very harsh homebrew rules?
Harsh.
I mean, I love the combat as chaos.
I do. I love the combat chaos.
Totally not taking notes on what homebrew rules I'm going to be stealing.
Right?
I'm excited for that. Yeah, I like the no initiative, and I do surprisingly like the no death saves thing, because it makes you want to survive more. Like it makes you want to like just keep going and be willing to back down from a fight. And I like that, because I've managed to survive like for 4 levels.
I'm pretty sure. So, like, I guess we haven't explained the way we run our one shots is everybody starts at level 1, and every one shot you survive, that same character then levels up accordingly. So you can keep that character going, and kind of build your own backstory, because now you're a part of this guild. You're going on adventures with this guild, and that character's still going. And I think, Manda, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you are the only one, besides Erdan, but he kind of doesn't count, that has survived. Mia is the only character that hasn't died. Limbo is still here, but I think Manda and Limbo are the only ones. Everybody's had to create new characters.
Yeah. And after
Mia dies,
I am now level 6.
Woo woo! You are the highest level guild
I am
member
the highest
as of
level.
right now.
Yeah. So I guess to explain what you're explaining is just like, these are incongruent stories. Essentially, every one shot is its own individual story, but the characters are recurring, and you can mix and match it depending on the players. You could have a level 1 next to a level 6, and backstory wise, your character is essentially the veteran of this venturing party for this one adventure, because they're the higher level 1. They have the experience, and they have the stories that I've given them up to this point. They've already experienced all these different dungeons and stuff in these other one shots. Like they got the know-how, fall back on your veterans and stuff like that. So there's just like that little sprinkle of congruency, but it's all broken up into one shots, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I know we're a little over time. I don't know if you guys like have to go or if y'all are okay. I want to give Claire, since we're gonna have a session 0, so we're gonna hear about your homebrew rules. But what are some homebrew rules that you have brought into your campaigns and one-shots that you really like, and how have your players kind of taken them?
Man, I'm a huge fan of throwing out the gold system. I literally just tossed the gold system for 12 different gems. So one of your low-level gems is worth 1/1,000,000th of the highest level.
Jesus.
Yeah,
And then-
I'm really interesting how this is gonna go.
Yeah, it's like I gotta redo everything. One of my favorites is cleave. So you kill somebody, obviously your hit was high enough, so that damage can carry through, and you can chop down 3-4 goblins in one go, which is something a strong person could do.
That's actually really interesting.
And then I can throw more at you.
Oh god, Claire, you're not good at combat.
Six goblins? No, this is a group of 60 goblins.
Oh my
Oh
god.
dear lord.
We got this.
Mom's gonna take him down.
So do you use a lot of like?
Jalen will help. She's ready with her great axe.
The player's handbook has like rules where you start compounding dice. So you have like 10 of those goblins are all into one roll. Do you use those?
Oh yeah, but most of them will move as one. I'll break it up into like 6 groups versus
Cool.
Oh,
having to
gosh.
roll 60 hits.
And then trying to go from campaign to campaign with all these different homebrew rules. I'm gonna get confused, y'all.
Just gotta keep separate notebooks.
Separate notebooks. I do need to get a new notebook. I just thought of that. Gotta make a target run, and Dylan's gonna be mad at me.
I'm gonna be searching. I'm
You have 4 hours.
I love it. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I'm still in shock that you even replied. This has been so cool. I am so ready to find out what you have under your sleeve, Miss DM, and to see what you're gonna throw at these girls here, because I've been watching for a while now, and now I'm just excited to hear what's going to happen, and I'm scared for you all. After
Thank
talking
you.
about
Oh,
it, I'm
it's about to
scared.
get good.
I'm scared for you all.
So let's talk scheduling. for
Let's
everybody.
talk scheduling. So, what's coming up for you guys? What's coming next? I know that this past month was big on charities with your one shot. Are we doing anything for July? What's your campaign schedule? Let everybody in Vallis Corpus know what's going on.
Okay, so you can find us every Monday at 7:30 Eastern on GutPunchRP. That's our ongoing Laurelwind campaign. We're like 37 sessions in. All of the old episodes are on YouTube. We're in the works to get some smaller things where people could just read through what has happened if you wanted to jump in. Also, like if you just wanted to jump in, where we are right now is probably a really good starting point. There'd be a couple of things that you would not know necessarily, but we have a really cool Discord community that you could jump in and ask questions. We have a channel that's devoted just to the lore, full wind, because it's lore. And coming up in July, we don't have any additional as of yet one shots. We do have a bunch of one shots from May, as well as the one this past week are on YouTube. So if you want to see not just me DMing, but some other folks, and we have a couple of things in the works. We're gonna have, not sure exactly on the timing, but we are going to have another D&D campaign that these two don't know about just yet. That I will planning on talking to them a little bit later. That I will be a player in. What? So be on the lookout for that. As well as maybe something else is actually maybe 2 other things are in the works. So.
Awesome. Well, feel free to add. We'll add you guys to our Brothers in Arms channel so that everybody can check you guys out on what's coming new. All right, Bowen, what's coming up this week for the Vallis Corpus Guild?
So, we are instigating probably a lot of changes to our schedule in general. because, well, life changes for everybody. We're both changing in between jobs right now and so on and so forth. But we've had the wonderful pleasure of these Tavern Talks. Holy cow, I love that you guys came. This is so exciting. And this is and the improv competition was a massive hit. I mean, everyone got so deep into it. Everyone role played better than they ever have, and they fell in love with it. And it's something I want to open up to like the D&D community at large. So we're gonna make that a weekly thing. I'm thinking like maybe like Wednesdays, probably in the evenings. I might do like a two-parter, a competition earlier in the day and a competition later in the day for everyone with their different time slots.
And we'd love to have guests be on it too.
Yes,
if you
if you guys ever want to flex your roleplay muscles a little bit, you know, it's a really enriching experience for sure for everybody. But we're gonna have roleplay offs probably on Wednesdays. We're gonna keep our Tavern Talks on Sundays. As far as our one-shots, gonna be honest, I have no idea. We're probably going to dial it back a lot given like how life's going right now, but we're still going to have them. We have 1 p.m. One-shots on Tuesdays and 7 p.m. one-shots on Thursdays.
a possible campaign.
A possible campaign, right. We might be doing a shift from the one-shots to a campaign. A lot of stuff is in the works. I just know that for this week, at least, we're going to do one-shot Tuesday, one-shot Thursday, improv competition Wednesday, and that's kind of like our week for now, and we'll see where life takes us. And every Sunday, we do a Tavern Talk and have our ending announcements, so keep tuned, I guess.
The shop is coming back. Vari's Varieties is coming back, so all the gold that you guys have won from the June event, get ready to spend it, because there's going to be some cool items coming. The Traveling Merchant will also be coming through, so don't spend all your gold in one place, because there's another place coming. Claire, tell us about what's coming up, where to find you, and what times.
Oh boy. Well, let me look at my thing on my wall with my schedule. I am a variety streamer, so I got a lot going on stream-wise. Tonight is the start of the girls' campaign for Valis Corpus, 6 p.m. EST. Monday's games, Wednesday's games, Thursday's games, Saturday's games, Sunday's games. I've just started sewing again, so we're mixing that in.
Awesome.
Nice.
Most of those are in the
cool.
evening.
And then you can find not only me and Amanda on the girls campaign that's coming up, but Dylan gets to shine his light as a player, and we're also in the Monday campaign with Anakin, who's not here today.
Different stream, right?
But he is not under _Anakin. He is in our Brothers in Arms as well, so that is coming up, I think, session 4 for Land of Atana. And we are finally moving into some of the big plot points. We're really excited. Yeti will also be there. And we've got a lot of our players doing cool stuff. Dungeons and Divers is actually live now, so I think we're going to switch over to go raid him and show him some love. He's also doing a podcast today.
Let's round it off with the raid, ladies.
So I just want to thank you ladies so much. You have absolutely made my day. This was so much fun. Thank you for being here, and we will catch you guys coming soon. So we are signing off here. We love you all. Let's go show Kyle some love as well.
Let's go blow up Kyle's chat.
Woo!
Raid now.
Awesome.
Right. Woo.
Thank you so much, you guys.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
I hope you had so much fun.
Yeah.
We can't wait to catch more of what's going on.
Yeah.
And
would you guys ever be interested in future Sunday talks? I don't know when exactly.
Sure.
We've got a lot of people, but if you're down for it, we'd love to have you guys back, and we'll bring up more topics. Now that we kind of broke the ice, you had your first Tavern Talk.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And if you guys ever feel the itch, we'd love to have you in our role play off. Seeing as Jess has all the experience here. I'd love to see
her come in and
flex
mop
your,
the floor with everybody.
your muscles and show us some new techniques. I always love learning.
Listen,
new
I'll just come in with an artificer goblin who is an agent of chaos.
Beautiful. I love it.
Oh,
All right,
God.
listen.
Well,
I will come and I will turtle.
yes. Well,
All time, I will turtle.
our prompts are really funny because I thought that everybody was gonna be really into the silly prompts because we have serious, silly, and neutral. And no, everybody wanted to make me cry. Everybody wanted to break my heart and be like, "We're gonna do serious," and I'm like, "Are you guys? I literally cry at commercials.
Like,
why are you doing this to
Because
me?
it's the serious category for improv off, and we don't play when it comes to serious. We're like, you know, we did like the doctor surgeon telling like
We had to
the
give some
spouse that the other
trigger
spouse died in
warnings just for
childbirth.
everybody to be safe. But yeah, we did.
We did stuff like that. The war buddy dying in the forest, and they know they can't make it back to camp in time. You know.
And everybody wanted it. Everybody wanted to cry.
They kept doing it, you know? Yeah, it was tough. And then we tried the rivalry stuff where, like, the son confronts the father because his father's a magical engineer, and he's going to destroy the entire capital city. So, like, the son's trying to, like, confront him about it and stuff like that. They're really serious for the serious category. But, yeah.
Oh, it was heart-wrenching.
I mean, it's amazing. Everyone comes out. They all show out. Like, people who you don't even, or your shyest players come out for these serious improvs, and then just, like, where did that come from? Like Amanda and her matron, you know, she just went,
like, she literally sat back in her
Like, she
chair
was
and, the eyes came through, and I was like, oh, dear Lord, what's about to happen?
Because her serious one was essentially the character was a vampire hunter whose entire life he's been hunting vampires because his parents were slain by them, and then he comes to confront the matron of the vampire coven he's hunting, and it turns out it's his mom all along. And it's like, that's the serious one. And like, as soon as I told her that, yeah, she brought out the hand and went like, you know, like, and we were like, oh, it's about to happen,
Oh,
you know?
geez, like, I
Yeah.
had an existential crisis before words were spoken.
Yeah.
But then the silly ones were so great, right? Because we had one with two of our players, and one was like an alchemy professor at the Arcaneum, and the other was a student, and he'd come to find out his professor was sleeping with his mom.
The hilarity ensues.
Oh,
So
goodness.
funny. Or we
He
have
made a
two
chemical
pigeons.
equation to
He
call
made
her
a chemical
hoe.
equation and called her a hoe. It was
incredible.
phenomenal. But then we also have two pigeons are deciding who to poop on outside the tavern, and wow, that I was
good.
crying
That one
in
was
my
hard.
chair.
The
I was
pigeons gossiping about which target to poop on.
I was peeing
That was a
myself.
funny one. That was.
It was so great. So it's really been really fun to kind of like bring theater into D&D. And it started out with just a game we were doing in voice chat. It was so cool.
So, two things have come to mind during this chat. Are you familiar with Unknown Armies RPG? I think like it's a modern horror setting, but the combat is fairly like combat is something to be avoided. Like it's very real. There are very real consequences to it.
Like Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. And the other thing is, are you familiar with Fiasco?
I've heard of it.
It's a straight improv game that is very, very much like you roll a bunch of d6s, you create your characters at that time, and it's all just like
You won't let me be a
interaction.
variation of Hawkeye. This is not going to work.
It's just the like you have okay, these two characters have a scene, and then these two characters have a scene, and it's very much like there's whatever genre you want it to be, but it ends up being very much like a Coen's brother movie where like
Wait,
everything
was that the superhero one that we did?
yeah, we did that.
Oh,
And-
okay.
And so it ends up being like things are going bad, then things go incredibly worse, and like most of your characters do not survive the game,
Oh,
or
God.
or like end up in prison and have like really terrible consequences to them. But yeah,
Awesome. No, I definitely took those down. I'll have to look into them soon. It's wonderful having references. I'm the worst at knowing anything about referencing materials because I make up everything as if it's original. But there's a million people out there all coming up with this stuff all the time, you know. But like, yeah, I'm the worst. People are like, oh, you're talking about this. And I'm like, what?
No, I made it myself.
I don't know.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, I don't know because like, yeah, I've just kept my bubble about this big and I just make it really deep.
I love that.
Thirsty sword lesbian.
I
That
love
title.
that. Ugh, yes.
Oh my god.
I have like so many just random source books of stuff.
I have one source book.
Oh,
She has one source
she
book.
just bounced
Are
off
you
the-
guys excited for the Feywild sourcebook coming out soon?
If you guys
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm playing my first Eladrin right now, and oh my god, I'm so excited.
Hopefully I can quit making up stuff.
Well, that's what we talked about last week, was like how difficult it's been to find Fae lore because it's so narrow with what we have. Fairy Fae. Ooh,
pretty.
purple's my favorite color.
The graphic designer in me is just loving this.
Oh, it's beautiful, and I love the triangle
gorgeous.
behind it. Oh. But that's
It was
something-
actually like done a couple years ago, I guess, as a Kickstarter for June, so for Pride Month.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, it's got the fairy race, I want it.
Yes.
The fairy ring.
Well, that's what we're so excited about. It's because, like, my favorite part of the Fae is that they are so chaotic, but they don't lie. They are going to run you around with the truth, and you have to remember and work with it. And I feel like it's so much fun. I love chaos. I love chaos for the act of chaos. All my characters are all very chaotic, and I'm so excited. I hope my worry is that it's going to be too much mechanical and less lore, and I hope they do more lore than mechanics because the Fae is phenomenal, and I'm so excited.
Well, they've
about
got 2 books coming out.
They have 2.
They have 2. One of them, I think, is a source book, and the other's an adventure book.
Ooh, I have to spend all my money now.
It's so funny you guys mentioned insight checks because insight checks do not work on her because she speaks in half-truths nonstop.
Yes.
Like, we specifically at one point built me an inquisitive rogue, and I could not fucking break her. And, like,
I
at
also
one...
threw a high deception character at you.
You did. You just, like... I know this will annoy Amber. Shove.
Well, I think that's the thing. That's the issue we have with insight checks. I think Dylan is this, like, insight is not a like flip a coin, is he telling the truth or lying? Like,
No. It's the way she does it is very much so sliding scale. So like if you're in this range, like it seems like they're telling the truth, but you don't know which side of the scale you're on.
That's perfect.
And it's unless you like absolutely nail it, which is damn near impossible with the high deception characters. You do not know.
Ugh.
I don't even actually.
But even then, like it's like at one point, my character right now is in a zone of truth with her high deception character. I was like, hey, is she also like, is it affected by her? She's like, it doesn't matter. She's gonna speak in half truths anyway. I was like, oh fucking damn it.
As long as she's saying.
Point of order. Oh no, actually, yeah, because like she's maxed out her charisma, so yeah.
I hate this so much. This is my fighter who's got like -1 to all anything charisma based. She is so doomed.
Yeah, the inside checks. That was a really wonderful discussion we had. Was that on a Tavern Talk, or was that just with friends?
Yes.
It was on a Tavern Talk where we were discussing the inside checks and whether or not they even make sense, because like there's a lot out there. When I started looking it up and reading about people's opinions, they were like 90% of the time you shouldn't, as each DM, so people think. It's not necessarily what I agree with, but like they said 90% of the times as a DM you shouldn't even allow an insight check, because if you're meeting a stranger, you simply just don't know enough about that person to catch their tells, because that's what insight is. It's how they speak, what they mean, their face is doing. And I attribute it to like when I go to the bar, because Stephanie used to be a bartender for a long time, I would meet a lot of people sitting at the bar with her and stuff, and like you can make a lot of like pseudo biased judgments about a person's character, but at the end of the day you kind of always end every conversation with, I don't know enough about that person to tell. I'm like, so that rings true to me, where it's like, yeah, my insight on that person isn't good because I just don't have a history with that person. I
want
know.
Jess's opinion on that. Like, is that to your research?
So here's the thing, is that what most people think of as a nonverbal cue to lying is not actually indicative of a lie in and of itself. If you want to know whether or not someone is lying, even if it's someone you just met, ignore all nonverbal cues. In fact, close your eyes. It's more in the tone and how they're saying it. And so I end up pulling in a lot of like, I pull in a lot of like how I know people's interpretations, and so that's why I'm like, it seems, or like this kind of tracks with everything that you've heard and that you know, and like unless they nail it, then I'm like, yeah, something's off here. Yeah. And then I'll give clues into like this, or like they appear emotional, or they seem uncomfortable with talking to you, you don't know whether or not that's because they're lying or if they're just socially awkward and do it that way.
Or like they lack confidence on the subject that you're talking about when it's something they should be confident about. Like you see their tone falters. That's how I kind of describe my insight checks too. I never just give it to them where I'm just like, I like to have kind of a thorough description. Like, well, maybe you see him white knuckling his hands a little bit in his lap, you know, or like he wasn't speaking very confidently about like his spouse, you know, or as lovingly when you kind of confronted him on how you feel about her and stuff like that. You know, he just kind of faltered, like little tells. But yeah, like you never really know, and that's the beauty of what an insight check should be. But that's tough, I think, for most DMs. I don't think the average DM just does that easily.
Yeah.
You know?
Jess, you are the scariest DM because not only do you have all the psychological knowledge of human beings and an acting and improv background, like, oof. Like, I've watched you just run these girls in circles, and I can't even tell, like, if it's true or not. And it's frightening in the best way because it's so much fun.
The other thing that we didn't hit on, but it's kind of tangentially related, is the dreams. So, like,